Hi and welcome to the Test Community Network. I hope you're safe and well. My name's Tim Burnett. So today we're going to be talking about vibe coding. We're going to be talking about Cowork. We're going to be talking about AI and skills. We've got quite a few kind of things to jump around with. I'm kind of looking over here just to check everything's okay. But, give me a shout out if you can hear me. Always good to know people are there. Say hello. Before we do that, we're going to get on just to look at what's going on in the I suppose in the world beyond assessment. So our kind of agenda, we're going to look at skills first today. So skills is this kind of, it's like an instructional workflow file that can be used by AI and put into the platform. And I'll walk you through that and tell you a bit more about what that is. Then I'm going to look at Cowork, which is it's the means by which AI can take control. So Claude, in this case, can take control of the computer and can do work for you, can do tasks for you. I'm just going to take these off because I don't need them. And then we have, we're going to look at vibe coding. So we're actually going to build some apps. We're going to build some applications using agents and AI to actually we're going to take the skills and put those together. We're going to build some other kind of useful tools. What would be really cool is if you could tell me of an app that you would really want. So say hello. So I know you're all there. Tell me an app that, just dream up something that you would really love to create. And I'll try and create that today. I've got some other things in mind to make, but it'd be really useful to get an idea of something that you've always kind of wanted. A widget, a shopping list, an assessment tool, a psychometric analysis tool. Tell me something that you quite fancy making, and we'll see if we can make that today. If we've not met before, then my name's Tim Burnett. And I work in the kind of space of assessment and education and exams, looking both from the kind of rewarding organization side and the vendor side. So I help vendors with their kind of marketing activity. I also help awarding organizations with their kind of adoption. And I do other things as well. Hi guys. Hi, Michael. Hi, Alistair. Thank you for saying hello. You'll see there I've got the Test Community Network. This is the kind of space that I founded to really provide a bridge for organizations like yourself to share knowledge and information about AI and assessment and technology. Got the Test Community Network is just a fantastic resource of marketplace of over 700 items. That's platforms and services related to it. There's a knowledge base. There's a regular email coming out. You may have heard at the start kind of the updates that's going on there. I'm going to just check my banners there. Yeah, fine. Right. And then I've been doing some teaching. I'm former chair of the Assessment Association, etc. So lots of stuff there. Some publications that I've come out with recently. Now this one's a little bit older. There's a new version coming in soon, but this is the AI Adoption Playbook. I do recommend that you have a look at that, scan that code and download that. The Assessment Manager's Guide for AI Marking. So this is kind of a piece of work that I put together with Synaptic. They provide a marking solution, and we kind of looked at the explainability and using generative AI for marking. And the reality is that generative AI just is the kind of black box side of things, and more explainable marking is the glass box, so you can see what's going on. You can explain the logic that's in there. There's a webinar on there as well that we did with an award organization called STA. I think it was 2 weeks ago now, just before Easter, I did a webinar relating to the research sprint that I've just done in relation to using AI to generate MCQ items. Now we're going to touch on a tiny bit of that today. You'll see a bit, kind of an example on there in the skill stuff, but that's a 58-page piece of research that was put together, analyzing what research was out there, and then putting together this guide really that takes you through what I kind of think is really important, a two-stage approach, because I think if you create the STEM and the distractors at the same time, you're going to have a problem, because if you update one, which you should be, or you should at least be reviewing and checking, then you're going to be disrupting your distractors. So it's better to go through a two-stage process where you come up with a STEM, check that you've got that, and then go through a distraction generation process. Now, I know some of you kind of the mix out there of how you're approaching that. Some people are just straight using ChatGPT. Some people are using agents and Copilot. Some people are using bespoke platforms that are from the vendors in the space. But this guide kind of bridges all three of those. So I do recommend you take a look at that. I'm also ambassador for the IAEA conference. Now, you've got until tomorrow if you want to submit for this conference. It's taking place in Canada, September 27th to the 2nd of October. It's going to be an awesome conference. I've seen the platinum sponsors that are in there. I've heard about the presentation, the keynotes, etc. It's going to be a really, really good 5-day event. So well worth attending that and getting a presentation submission into there. So you've got until tomorrow to do that. The final thing I'm going to mention, just kind of before we get into the nitty gritty of it, is this is my kind of big thing at the moment. Is everyone should be AI forward in terms of their adoption, looking at AI, at least kind of embracing it. I'm going to launch a little poll now, just to kind of get a feel for where. So where are you on your AI journey? I've not used these polls before, so hopefully they come up okay for you and you can answer them. I suppose we'll know that in a minute if you can answer it. But you should be thinking about think human first. That should be your kind of anchoring as part of it. So every decision should be about the users are involved. Whether it's your training, whether they're bringing people on board, whether it's your customers, thinking about where they are on their AI journey. You've got to think about the people as part of this process. We've got some responses coming through. That's great. And then being AI forward, so making sure that you're adopting your mindset, you're having your thoughts around use and adoption of AI, and then this idea of agent ready. So this is thinking about your businesses, the way they work, using agents, making sure that your platforms, your website is ready for people's gradual adoption of using agents in their day-to-day, more people migrating across to using AI. So we've got just a couple of you responded so far, so 50-50 really on content creator, image, text. So, and I think this is the going to be kind of typical of the audience that might come along to this kind of session, is because if you're too far down that starting journey, then you're not going to be necessarily in a position where you're going to think, right, I'm going to go and build an app. But yeah, we'll see how we go on that one. So thanks for sharing that. I'll hide that off. Let's have a look at some comments there. We've got some. Right, let's have a look, just a quick look at what's going beyond assessment. So if you're listening to this via LinkedIn later on, then you'll get to this point, and then we're going to drop off and you can kind of come and join us on the main part of the webinar. But so things that are happening. So there's been a big start to the year. There was this what called the SaaS apocalypse, and this is the kind of ripple effects that vibe coding, which we'll kind of talk about in more detail in a second. But the industry effectively woke up to the idea that people could start building their own apps, and that had a big kind of impact on SaaS-based platforms. Now, there's obviously a lot of SaaS-based solutions out there. The ones that we might be more familiar with in the assessment space are quite bespoke. The assessment industry is quite a bespoke, risk-averse, kind of conservative space where people are kind of turning to these organizations because they trust them as part of their trust in their item bank, etc. There are some lower kind of risk solutions out there, like let's say Monday or something like that, CRM solutions, where organizations, small companies might be able to flip around. And they're the ones that kind of are a little bit more exposed to this, because the idea that you could just, rather than buying into this tiering solution that you'll get one person on board and it's great, and then you add another seat on it, it's a price that goes up through the roof, you start adding in lots of contacts into your CRM price. People are kind of pushing back on a little bit on that. So there's been this kind of ripple effect that's gone out. And within the kind of developer community and the developer industry, people have realized that actually Claude Code and these co-development tools have actually had quite a significant impact on how people work, with people reporting that they were using AI for maybe 20% of their work kind of early in the part of last year, but now AI is doing 100% of the code development for them. There was this big tipping point around November last year when Claude's models coding ability suddenly kind of stepped up. OpenAI have launched Codex, their version. We've had Cursor around for a while, and GitHub, Copilot Studio, and things like that. So, but there was this sudden moment, and I noticed it as well. I know I was using Lovable and the apps that I'm going to talk through today. I noticed suddenly that I wasn't chasing bugs all the time. I wasn't creating bugs when I was creating a feature. It wasn't a pain in the backside like that. I was just able to build something and just add feature, with everything working perfectly first time. The other thing that's come out is OpenClaw. You might have heard of it. It kind of came out as Clawbot was its first name. Maltbot was then quickly changed after about a week, and then OpenClaw seems to be where we settle. And this is the idea of an AI assistant. And what we've got is kind of communities going out there buying these M4 Minimax and deploying these open Claude bots to them, and they're a kind of assistants with quite a unique human kind of feel to it. You can add a soul to it. It's got a heartbeat. It'll check in on you. You can assign it tasks and roles, and effectively it's like your own little AI assistant, very personal. It's open source. You plug it into APIs, into things like Claude or OpenAI to use their large language models for the work, or you can have models running locally on your devices. A lot of concerns out there in terms of security risk. People are giving these full access to the computers. There was a kind of great incident. I think it was an Apple executive or someone who deployed one of these and it started to delete your emails, because you ask it to tidy up my inbox. The first thing anything or anyone is going to do when they look at my inbox for email is it's going to delete everything and start again. And that's what's been causing some problems as well with AI. So slightly separately, shut up. Alarm gone off. Separately, the Amazon had some issues where they got some disruption to their shopping cart, but they also saw AWS outages as well, where an agent was deployed to try and look after a production environment. It said, right, I'm just going to start all over again, and deleted it off, and it took them some time to get back. We had some open source library hacks going on. So Mercure, I think the name is, they are a big company that's behind the training data, and they fell foul of this Light LLM, which was an open source tool which has been used by a lot of people. AI agents have been using it as part of their code setup, and someone's come along and hacked it, giving them access to anyone who's then deployed that update to Light LLM tool, which is quite a scary thing, because effectively that means that any kind of open source tools, if they are hacked by these kind of Claude and code generated, AI generated code tools, then we could all be quite exposed to it. And we're going to see more of that kind of hacking activity going on as well, especially with them targeting and getting more capable coding tools. I'll jump onto, just going to push down to Claude Mythos, which is their new model that's come out. Now, what they've done is they've launched this model and they've gone, wow, this has got significant coding abilities in it, and almost to the point where it's gone, if you think about that kind of AGI, the artificial general intelligence in terms of coders, it's gone a little bit beyond that in terms of its capabilities. And according to their kind of reports, it's been finding lots of what they call zero-day cybersecurity vulnerabilities in solutions that are there, and that's where things that, issues that could significantly bring down a service or application, perhaps they've been living there for a long time, humans haven't noticed as part of their code review, this tool's gone out and looked at it. Now, they've only deployed this to a kind of a short list of 50 organizations that are working with, the partner organizations, Apple, people like that, so they can look at their code in there and test it, which is concerning, because it's going off and find it, but it also means that these organizations have got access to a very significantly powerful model. And that kind of, this whole idea of AI, democratization of AI and access does shift things a little bit very much in one particular organization's court as part of that. So some big things going on in terms of qualities. The models, the companies themselves, they're making a big push towards this idea of automated AI researchers, this kind of 24/7 research capability where you could just give it a task. Now, we've got deep research reports at the moment, which are AI agents basically going off and doing long research tasks for you. And they're exceptional, but these automated AI researchers, the idea is that these would actually really start to solve some significant problems within society, science-based things, finding cures for activities. Obviously, it's going to be thinking-based, but stick it in a lab with the robots and some access to materials and things like that, and then you really kind of start to expand that out. And then finally, the last one to mention, there's been a kind of code leak. I say code leak, accidental sharing of code for the platform Claude Code. I'm going to touch on at the end as to why that is quite a significant activity for you. All right, I'm going to mention some applications. I'm kind of interested to know. I'm going to share that. Stop poll. There we go. A new poll just got up there. So I'm kind of interested to know what you got to access to at work as I go through this, because it kind of influence where we go with this a little bit. But if you've got Microsoft Copilot 365, let me know. Claude or Gemini, I'm interested to see what you've got. Right. Now, vibe coding kind of is one of the big topics for today. And this was an article that came up quite recently where out in America, Washington District has supposedly saved a significant amount of money in vibe coding their own solutions to problems. And this is the kind of thing we might see more often, because it is quite capable of being able to build your own platforms. And at the moment, there might be tools that you might use in a department or team as part of a project, but it could be that, as an organization, let's say you're an awarding organization out there, you've got an item bank, you're paying a lot of money for that item bank. An item bank really is just a database with a workflow sat on top. Why, you don't necessarily need to be paying someone for that if you can set that up yourself. And these vibe coding tools can potentially put you in a position where you could do that. So I think we are going to start to see some disruption through this space as part of that. It's worth having a good read of that. So first off then, we're going to look at skills. So a skill is a structured instruction file that tells AI exactly how to perform a task, step by step with rules, quality gates, and output formats baked in. So effectively, when you're prompting, let's say you just go straight into prompting, there's a nice spread there actually. So someone's saying nothing in terms of access. We've got Copilot, Claude, and Gemini. So okay, it's good. Let's hide that off. The comments there. Not heard of the Papa Theodora. Not heard of that one. So a skill file. So if you're doing prompting normally, so you're in ChatGPT, you say, create me a file, work with me on a project. One thing I do recommend if you're just doing straight prompting is the 5-question approach. So let's say you're going to produce a project plan for a project that you're coming across. Then you want to give the context, you want to give your intention, you want to effectively talk to the AI as if you're giving a task to a junior within your team. Now, if you're doing that within your team, you're giving them something to undertake, some actions to take, then you wouldn't expect good results if you're not going to give them all the information. So give them that context, give them that background, and then give them the opportunity to ask you 5 questions or ask you some questions. You can do it 2 questions, 3 questions, 5 questions, however you want to do it. Well, I find 5 questions is a nice sweet spot where I then say to the AI, now ask me 5 questions in turn to perform this task. And it's amazing what the AI will come back with in terms of the questions, clarifications, and there'll be things that you've forgotten. You think, I could tell you that. That's really useful. That's really important information to it. Maybe a bit more information you're going to add into it, maybe another file, some other resources. So it's a really good step to go through. As you move through your kind of adoption, you maybe move to projects. So you're doing something on a more repeatable task. So let's say you're generating multiple choice questions, or you're creating reports for someone, then you're going to add resources into that project. And a project is where almost like a siloed space where you can chat with it, and it will only use information that you've provided within that project. And there'll be some instructions in there as well that you've added in. So only do this, only do that, produce this, produce that as part of the journey. Now, you're going to do that on a regular basis, but it's not kind of a structured flow all the time. It doesn't take a kind of action. What a skill file is this, they call it a markup file, and it's a file that you can create, which looks at, let's say you've got a regular process and task, it can create that regular process and task, and you can port that to other places. So you could take that to a different chatbot. So if you're using ChatGPT on a paid tier, you need it, you could take it to Claude, and it would do the exact same actions that are in there. Let's have a quick look at one of those. So let's nip into, there we go. So this is for the MCQ item generation, the piece of work that I did. I created a skill off the back of it. Effectively, I gave it the report and went through that 5-question step process. And it then generated this 2-stage skill that you can then follow within Claude in this case. And this is the detail that comes through. You imagine you putting this every time you did a prompt, it'd be quite a kind of laborious process. But what you're left with is, so I've just created a new chat within Claude. I've said, create me an MCQ item about sailing. It looks through the skills that are available, and it says, okay, there's an item MCQ skill building skill within there. Let's use that as part of the process. And it comes up with questions. So it'll start, I want to look at points of sale. This is for general knowledge qualification. I want to apply to a scenario. and it will help me follow through this process as part of creating this item. So it then gives me the questions, gives me the options in there, and it just follows that journey and that skill structure to it. Now I've done another one as well for procurement, and what we're going to do as part of this is we're going to create something. Now, none of you have given me any kind of ideas for apps that you want to build, so have a quick think now while we do something, and I'm going to set Google AI Studio going something. So anyone come up with something that you want, a shopping list creator or something. I'll have to create something myself if not, but what I've done here, now I'm going to explain a bit more about the skills, but is I've taken this skill and I've then gone to Lovable to create that. So what happens is you get a package from your skill creation, and this is a vibe coding platform, Lovable, and all I'm going to do is drop that in and use it as a basis for creating an app. So I'm going to set that to build. Hopefully it'll go, because it's been sat there a while doing that. So this is going to now go off and build an app for me. So there are a number of platforms out there, and I'll kind of cover off all the different ones in there, but let's just finish off on skills. So this skill MD file, like I say, it's a markup file, you can move it around, but because it's got this kind of workflow, what I find is that if you think about how you might be doing a regular job on a regular basis within Claude or ChatGPT or whatever you're using, that's quite a personal task. You can do some team stuff. You can have access to Teams approaches and Teams instances. But as you refine that process, it might be that you actually want to take that skill and make it into something a bit more usable. So I've got this kind of similar thing going here. So this is based on a skill that I've created. So every time I do a podcast on a weekly interview with someone, I will take the transcript and I'll put it through Claude, and I have a skill that goes through and it helps me correct the show notes. But what I've done with this is I've created an app off the back of that skill. And it means I can start to add in new features in there. I can add in video editing in there. I can add in search options. But what it does here now is, because it's programming the skill, I've got to put in the transcript from the recording of the interview. I now get this consistent approach to the show notes that have been generated for this episode. And I can do all sorts with that. I can now kind of extend this app out further. I could share this app within my team, so they could all do this as part of the work. I could add in quality assurance process. So if I've got more people that are involved in it, I could create this stuff and then pass it to another team member who could add something in. And you start to kind of platformize and productize this idea of solution. So I've got I'm going to generate my titles for this interview. So this is an interview I've got with Mary next week. I'll be sharing this. A fascinating interview, really, really, really good interview. I'm really excited to share that. I can create a blog in there. So I've turned this kind of skill into a product. We'll go back to Lovable here now, and that's still building away now. And we'll come back to that in a second. So that'll be finished soon. Let's have a look at, there we go. Right. So the other thing I want to kind of cover off today is Cowork. Just let me know if anyone is using Cowork day to day. Has anyone kind of had access to it yet? Put it in the chat. I've not put a banner on this one, put it in the chat. So Cowork is an application which you can install. It's a Claude application that you can install on a computer. And what they've done is they've taken this desktop version. So within there, they had Claude Code, which was a coding app. And what they were finding was that people were using Claude Code to start to manipulate files and information on their computer. And what they said is, well, okay, it's a bit of a kind of technical tool, so let's make it a little bit simpler, a bit more kind of workforce orientated. So they've added in this idea of Claude Cowork. Now, I believe Microsoft have not effectively white label, but they may be taking this same kind of application, bringing out an application called Cowork soon. Whether or not that will make it into your inboxes on your work computers is questionable, because any kind of application which starts to perform tasks on your computer, creating files, deleting files even, may kind of fall foul of IT's kind of rules. So it'd be interesting to see how well that gets adopted, even within Microsoft. But the idea is that it can do things like it lives within PowerPoint, it can live within Excel, it can read files, it can undertake tasks. And what I've got is a little task for it to do on my computer. So let me just open that up. Where's it gone? There we go. So I've got all these receipts that I need sorting. So I took these photos, and these receipts have been sat on my desk, ready for accounting, sorting out. And I need them sorted into folders. So I'm going to ask Claude Code to do that for me. This is where everything goes wrong, but sort these receipts by year, month, day, rename them accordingly, item and cost, and GBP, and create a CSV listing all the results. So that's going to go off onto my computer now, and undertake that tasks. I'm approaching my weekly limit on Claude, and this is one kind of downside. So I'm on the £18 a month, plan at the moment, and you get so many tokens and so much usage from that, and it's brilliant, it's great. But as they add more of these kind of tools and features in there, I am being more dependent on Claude for some of my work and activities, and that's, as a strategy, what's that's causing me to do there is, like with skills, is rather than doing all my work using skills within Claude, when I get to the point where I suppose a task is an irregular threshold, what I've been doing is creating a skill and then creating a lovable app for it. And then with that lovable app, I can use APIs for that, and it doesn't impact my £18 a month piece. So I can kind of scale it without interfering with my Claude token. While that's doing that, I'm going to show you another video here of a little task that I set, a challenge that I set AI to do, and that is to, hopefully you can still hear me while this is doing this, but I gave Copilot and Claude a challenge to create a slide off the back of some data that I gave it. So I found some data reporting on the future of work, and I'll share the data in a second, and it went off and built it. So Claude within PowerPoint, as well as Copilot within there. And I actually was quite surprised by the results, because you think Copilot, which is a Microsoft tool within its own platform, would do a lot better than another solution. But Claude, I find, actually does a better job of doing it. So you can see there, the Claude slide's already been created, but yet Copilot is still thinking about that. I'll show you there we go. So this was another, within this deck, I did the same task, because with the one I just showed you there was two blank slideshows, so there wasn't taking any of the kind of look and feel, or not much of it. But within this was what it created within a few seconds, 30 seconds or so. It created this slide off the back of the data. Brilliantly useful. There's tools out there like Gamma and things like that for creating PowerPoints, but the problem is they create them in a style that doesn't match your corporate branding, and they'll create the entire deck, and you're kind of going to go through doing some massive editing job. And with Gamma particularly, it doesn't actually work very well as a PowerPoint when you export it out as a PowerPoint item. If I can then, like I'm doing here, just chat and say, create me a slide on X, Y, and Z within this deck, it means I can offload some of that work to Claude to do that for me. And I think, this is a good looking slide that I could then make some further tweaks to. The only amends I had to make were it put a big green banner with a white text on the top, and I didn't want that. I want the banner across there. So I had to just do a couple of tweaks there, and these wordings here weren't very clear. Just need to be increased. But I think overall it was a good effort. If we just have a quick look back at our task of organizing our receipts, let's see where it's on with. See if it's just checking if it needs anything. So I'm just going to say proceed. Let's see if it does that task for me. So it's found them all. It's done some tasks. I don't think it's done the sorting just yet. So they're all still waiting there to be sorted. Right, let's have a look now at Vibe Coding. Let's go back to our lovable app to see what's been built so far. So here we go. So we've, within the space of me talking for about 3 minutes or so, I gave it a prompt, gave it a workflow that I'm quite comfortable. I'm kind of using on a regular basis. And now in a position where I've got an app that I can work with. So let's have a quick look and see what it's doing. So we've got what kind of organization, what's your process? This is early discovery. What outputs am I looking for? I'm looking for a procure. I'm looking for an RFP, draft RFP. Let's do that. I'm going to start the interview. And it's given me a whole lot of questions here. So this is using AI that I could then move through to the next stage. So I'm going to answer those questions, and it will generate a kind of product and output for me. I did one one earlier as well, and I'll show you the difference in terms of the. So look at the projects. Procurement wise, there we go. So this was another one I did yesterday just to test it out. Same process. Starting the procurement, similar kind of workflow. Give it a name first. And then project scope. Let's put some text in there. Let's go through early discovery. So it's matching a very similar kind of format to what the previous one's gone out. And then I just find this is a really nice way of you using chat, using AI, kind of chat tools that you've got, moving to the stage of having a project and having a more regular workflow or something. And then when you're ready, creating a skill. So if you start to kind of scale that and you want to take it to other teams and other departments, take that very skill, that very process that you use and deploy that as an app within here. Now, Lovable is vibe coding is the kind of name of the game. It was a term that's coined by Anthropic, and it's just the idea of you being able to naturally language chat with AI agents that are able and capable and going off and building apps for you. So within the landscape, you've got, I'm going to put the middle one here. So you've got the full stack ones like Lovable, Replit, Base 44, Google AI Studio now is kind of moving towards being a full stack tool. And when we say full stack, that means you've got a database within there, you've got AI in there, so you can bring in AI as part of your application. So it's not just about building websites, kind of static websites. You've got interactivity in there as well. You can start to hook in APIs. You can have auth, so you can have people logging in. You can plug it into Zapier, a tool like that, so you can be sending data around in different places. Then you've got things like IDEs, which are integrated development environments like Cursor. This is what your development team might be using more on a regular basis. So they will be chatting with Cursor as part of an assisted process for code development. And then you've got coding agents like Claude Code. And those are, again, they're not full stack, although Claude is moving in that direction. And I kind of want to show you just where Claude are going with some of this stuff. And it sounds like I'm doing a bit of a promo for Claude here, but they have been, I think, since they brought out Claude Code, and then Cowork and Claude Code. I think Claude Code they were saying was 100% developed by AI, which is significant. But you can see all the features that have been added in. They released routines yesterday. I haven't had a chance to play with it yet, but the idea of autopilot smart routines, tasks, the AI going off and doing tasks for you is just awesome. You've got Claude within Word, which I need to try. I've tried it within PowerPoint. I've not tried it within Excel that much, but these guys are just throwing out more and more features and tools within the applications, and to the point where they've got dispatch where you can chat on your phone with it. So almost like one of these open Claude bots where you can actually ask it for things and it will go off. If your computer's on, it'll go off and do tasks there for you. So let's just have a quick look back at okay, so it's needs to directly work within there. Oh, it's done the sorting, it's just not done the Excel. What's it saying there? So let's have a quick look at my folder. Right, so it's done some sorting, and I've got folders in there as well. Yeah, so it's done some sorting in there as well, which is useful. I can then ask it to continue with that. I don't know what quite. Image still in processing the root folder there. iCloud offloader can't be read once you've downloaded on the Finder. All right, okay, so I've got a problem with the file there to read out. So that's for me to download something locally on my computer. So that's why it's not working. Right. So let's go back. So you've got this choice of range of options in there. You've got integrated development stuff. You've got full stack in there as well. I've kind of shown you Lovable. Replit, I'll give you a quick insight into it. Replit. This is Replit. Now this is what I use to run the Test Community.Network website. We've got publishing capabilities. There's database in there. What I actually do with my app here is, because there was one of the big kind of concerns that came around first off was someone created an app. They created within Replit, they had a massive database of about 50,000 items or something, and they asked it for an update to a feature, and it deleted off everything within the database, and they had no record of it. So what I actually do is I work within Airtable, which is another app, and I publish through content through to this. So I'm kind of got a little bit safeguarded against that. So I've always got a kind of backup of my data, but it's very easy for me to effectively add and create features within this app, and I will just chat with it and say, create me some features. If we'll have a quick look at Google AI Studio, so this is a kind of very similar thing. So create me a snake game. I'll ask it to do that. It's going to go off and do that for me. And what I find with Claude, so with Copilot, sorry, what are his names? Google AI Studio, is although it's full stack, so you can deploy applications, I do find the cloud sharing feature a little bit harder to use, and the cloud database management. So I don't find it as an easy tool to use. It's doing some kind of programming there. It's giving me some designs already there by the look of it. So yeah, and then you've got Claude Code itself. So if we can have a quick look at that, this is an example. So you can have a chat here. It's more code based, more kind of interactions going, but what I've been able to do with this one is be able to create local installable applications. So this is one that I've created. This is effective as part of my kind of work research, looking at cheating apps and how easy it is to create them. I've asked it to build me this learning aid tool. It's an Exe based Chrome based tool, so it's almost like its own little browser. So in theory, I could take a test within space, and the idea of this app is that I could select an area and it would give me audio responses to it. And the way it's supposed to work is a little bit broken at the moment because I made some changes and I haven't fixed them yet. Is that as a user, I'd be able to right click and drag that across the screen there, and it would look at that area. It's almost like I'm creating a false box. It would look at what was in that box, send that off to AI, and give me an audio response back within there. And if anyone was kind of watching the screen, the interaction of me on the screen, then it would be hard for them to kind of notice the fact that I'm taking that approach, because it's quite, it's kind of a natural kind of action to take there, isn't it? You'd be looking at the code to see what's going on in the background, but yeah. So it's quite possible that you could quite easily create tools for them. So just some other examples before we go to things that I've built. So if we go back to Lovable, this is an AI assessment authoring tool. And again, this was based on the kind of parallel of the work that I did for the research. I was able to create a item generation tool as part of this. I've got MCQ item generation. I can create drafts. I can put them in order, almost like an item bank. There I can edit those, I can delete them, I can do everything with it. So it's a fully functioning app that I've created to support the research, to show the kind of process. But there's no reason why this couldn't be a tool that you might use internally as your kind of a part of your process. If you could go off and build your own on there. And what I've actually done for you is, if you want to try this, in the kind of, if you go to collections and go to the Beta Labs page here, so just click on Beta Labs, I've created the skills for the procurement and for the MCQ authoring tool in that. And you can see some of the other apps that I've created using this. And there's a comparative judgment tool in there, AI content detection tool, so that's using the plagiarism detection from I forgot the name. Is it on there? No. And created an interview app. I created a local marking tool as well. I've actually even created a skill for marking, but I've not properly tested that out just yet. Let's have a look at our snake game. Yeah, it's still building. So whilst I just finish that off, just going to go back to my slides. Let me know just where you are in your kind of coding journey. So, are you looking to build apps? Is this something that's on your radar? Are you looking to build them for work? Do you think you would build them for work? Put it in the chat. I'd be quite interested to see what your views are on that. For skills, to just a summary of all this, then skills are these kind of packaged AI experts, these workflows, the things that you create on a regular basis. Where we are with skills at the moment is if you've got Claude access, then anyone can use skills. I don't believe it's a paid tier thing, but even on the lowest tier, you can use them. Perplexity, you can use skills. So you can put a skill across, you can just import a skill into it, but it uses the computer use model. So even though you're on the kind of let's say the £18 or £20 a month Perplexity rate for their pro version, you have to pay for the computer use part of that. You have to get extra credits in there. You can buy credits or you can move up a tier, but I think it's a bit sneaky that they've not made that available. OpenAI with ChatGPT, you need to be on a Teams plan to be able to use skills, I think is the kind of minimum plan. I suspect it will come into the pro space as well soon. And then Gemini, I think it's only available in America as far as in Qatar, because I can't see how to add it in. There is a kind of report that is available in there, but I think it's within the Chrome browser as opposed to within the Gemini app. They're a little bit behind on things there. It's not part, as far as I can tell at all, not part of any kind of Microsoft 365 work at the moment. There is agents within Microsoft 365, so you can create using Copilot Studio. I don't like them as much. I know some people do like them, but I just don't think they're in any way, shape, or form as useful as other ones. Cowork is this idea that you can install the desktop app for Claude, and you can interact with files and create files on your desktop. I think the receipt ones kind of sort of worked. It worked a lot better when I did some on a smaller sample yesterday, so I need to look at that. But I've had it where I had an entire knowledge base of PDFs on my computer that I've been gathering over time, and I just said go in there and sort them all out, and it went through and it just reorganized everything in folders. Did a brilliant job with that. And then you got the vibe coding tools as well in there. And you've been a bit of a quiet audience, but you be interested to know if you've got plans to build stuff. But I think, and would you build your own item authoring tool? Would you build your own tools or apps within your business? Do you think you're at that stage yet? But vibe coding is the opportunity for you to create through natural language applications without needing to do any coding at all. And what you can do is use the models to kind of test and make sure the security vulnerabilities are all covered. You could pass that on to people internally. You could dream up your own concept of what you want to do and take that to a vendor and say, this is how I want it to work. This is what I want to look like, almost as like a minimum working product. And they could then work with you to develop that first. There's lots of opportunities in that. The challenge for all this is, in the example of Claude Code and the code release, let's say you created an image or some copy and text. The kind of current legal position is anything that's 100% AI generated is not protectable under intellectual property. Now, with Claude Code, when they accidentally release the code as part of a deployment, that means that people, and this happened, the code was taken and it was put onto GitHub and that was forked several times. So people will have access to that code now. There's nothing to stop them from creating their own applications with that. And it's very difficult for Claude, who are very proud about the fact that it was 100% code generated. They just wouldn't necessarily be able to kind of claim copyright on that tool because people can't. So if you create your own apps, there is that kind of risk. Unless there's huge potential, but I think organizations are too risk averse to allow building and deployment of AI generated apps. I know what you mean about being risk averse, and I think the industry is, but I think if Microsoft, let's say Microsoft came out with a code building mini app within their service, something that created a little bit more of a kind of micro app within the release process, within the kind of enterprise environment, I think people might be a little bit more accepting of it because they're all kind of quite trusting of Microsoft. I do find though that Microsoft stuff tends to be about 6 months behind everyone else and a little bit limited. Power Automate and things like that have been around for a long time, but not many people use it within organizations. It tends to sit within the IT team. So I think, yes, organizations, big organizations, ones that aren't AI native will struggle to use some of these tools, but that doesn't mean that another organization can spin up who is a bit more forward thinking and start to adopt these tools to build apps, to build tools and services that could disrupt everyone else's work within there. So that's where I kind of see this going. Let me know what you think. Let me know your feedback. Appreciate it. Thank you for joining me today. If you've got any questions, then reach out. I'll share the links and everything for this session and the apps. I'm going to actually put out the procurement app for people to work with and have a go. So look out for that coming out. I'm going to put the version I created out yesterday just because I need less work to make it look and feel a bit better. Let's have a quick look at the snake building app. Have we got anything yet? Let's have a look. Oh, give me designs there. I'll share this afterwards, but it was asking me a question about design there, so it's not actually built it just yet. But all being well, that will come out, so I'll share that in notes afterwards. Thank you for your time today, and I'll speak to you soon, and bye-bye from me.